This is Musical Talk.
Musical Talk.
The UK's independent musical theatre podcast.
Musical Talk. The UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Musical Talk. It be a new year. Happy New Year, Antonia.
Happy New Year.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank
Good.
you.
Let's hope this year's better than last year.
God, yeah.
We're gonna be having a kind of a retrospective and a perspective. Is that the future look of the perspective of 2017? I don't know.
A forecast.
Yes.
Let's call it a forecast.
We're looking forward into this year and looking back at last year, 2016. My first question for you, Tonya, good or bad year? Talking about musicals, not just the current state of the world.
With regards to lots of famous people dying this year, it's been a bad year for musical theatre.
But for stuff on the stage, new things and shows you saw, shows you didn't see, shows you weren't interested in seeing, what do you think?
Unfortunately, there's been a lot of things I haven't been able to see last year. But there's lots of things I really wanted to see. Like Aladdin, I still haven't seen.
Yeah.
Really want to see that.
We're recording this still in 2016, so if we get our years confused, bear with us. But when we're making the list of things to discuss, a lot of stuff has come and gone this year, which I think is kind of seems to be a sad trend with especially new British musicals.
Yeah, things don't seem to have longevity, do they?
No.
It's a real pity. But also the fact that people just don't seem to be interested in new stories. They kind of just want to see the films that they know kind of
On
stage. Or
nothing wrong with that, though.
musicals. No, but I mean, they seem to be the things that have longevity as opposed to the new works that have been kind of staged and things like that.
Did you see anything?
No, I don't think so. Racking
How
my brains.
sad for you.
I know, it's terrible. I'm racking, but no, I don't think it did.
I saw very few things. The thing I saw in the middle of the year was Aladdin, and saw a couple of things towards the end of the year. Sister Act, which you talked about before, which was a joy to see again. Other than that, not much. School of Rock as well. Let's go back into the beginning of 2016. It kind of the year 2015 ended and introduced us into 2016 with two kind of rather successful, well, you would argue one successful musical on television. We talked about it with Thos and Tim, I believe. They talked about The Sound of Music live, which I know it doesn't count because it was sort of 2015, but it's still that weird week in between Christmas and New Year where everything is on sale for $3.99 and you don't know what day of the week it is and you're bored of eating Turkish sandwiches. Gypsy Live as well was phenomenal, I think.
That was the one that actually made it all the way through and was really thrilled. Because
Yes.
we'd seen it like a couple of weeks before it closed.
Yeah.
We loved it and we were thrilled to see it. But it was great to watch it so closely after that, again at Christmas, and with my mum who'd seen it actually a couple of weeks after me. It was more thrilling seeing it in the theatre, but they did such a good job translating it.
As I said, the issue is that Imelda is not performing down the camera lens. She is performing to 1,300 people.
Yeah.
So if you're only watching the TV broadcast, you get a very, very, very possibly over-the-top performance from Imelda. So I know a lot of Americans who saw it. They are very, very against the fact that she might be going to Broadway with the show. Said, "Oh, it's a terrible performance. It's so overacted." I thought, yes, dear, that's because you're watching a theatrical performance live.
Yeah, I think anyone with two brain cells should be able to realise that. But but also, I think part of it, because we'd already seen it live in the theatre, we just, I think we had an appreciation for it. And we knew we weren't perhaps going to enjoy it quite as much as when we saw it in the theatre, because you're not there.
No.
But at the same time, it was great to see it again. I really enjoyed it. I loved getting my mum's opinion on it, because I couldn't get a chance to see it with her.
Coming soon on the podcast, Antonia and her mum.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
But the issue I still have with that production of Gypsy, and it was even more glaring watching it on television, was the orchestra.
Oh, yeah, it was a pity.
With the lack of strings, especially with the lyric, the strings come in, but never mind, it was still wonderful to
I think
have.
that's a huge trend we're seeing at the moment,
Yeah.
cutting down on orchestras even more every year. They seem to get smaller and smaller and smaller, especially with a lot of actor musician things now as well.
Yeah, soon just be the band members acting the show as well.
Yeah.
It hasn't been all coming up roses this year. We lost a couple of wonderful, wonderful theatrical and musical talents. I want to talk first about Victoria Wood, because I was reminded of the Christmas before. We had her beautiful musical, The Day We Sang.
Yeah, that's it.
Which was absolutely charming to watch, and I kind of wish she got to write more musicals, because she did Acorn Antiques. She did something else with the Menier, which I can't remember, and then she did The Day We Sang up at the Royal Exchange in Manchester.
Yeah.
Then the BBC made it into a telly musical with Michael Ball and Imelda Staunton,
Yeah.
funny enough. What can you say about Victoria Wood? All we can say is, whatever your religious beliefs, heaven is a much more amusing place now if we go
Yeah.
through the people that we've lost this year. You're a northerner.
Yeah.
I'm not a northerner. What did Victoria Wood mean to you?
She just had a really kind of wonderful northern take on the world, which she was able
What
to...
does that mean?
I don't know. We see things through a different perspective, I think.
Yes, you're more positive
Yeah.
and you're angrier.
We just don't stand for nonsense, Nick.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
northern elbows and shoulders, I believe, is the term.
When you're as short as I am, you've got to make up for it with gumption. It's really hard to put it into words. And I'm still quite upset about this, actually. So it's quite hard to talk about it. She's just... You know,
She obviously had that northern thing, which we can't
put into words.
our hands on. But she was a phenomenal musician as well, and composer, and lyricist, and book writer, and director, and singer, and actor. And my God, it's such a loss, isn't it?
A couple of weeks after she died, there was a clip of her from I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue, and it's where they take a musical theatre song or a song and they sing different words to it, and she sang Bob the Builder to I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis, and I remember being on the tube listening to this at the time, and I was simultaneously weeping and laughing at the same time.
It's like when you listen to musical talk, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit like that.
Crying and laughing. David Bowie as well has
Yeah,
left
massive
us.
loss.
Not so much in the musical theatre world, but there is a show at the moment called Lazarus, which is playing at King's Cross. I haven't seen it because apparently it's a bit too out there for me, even. Labyrinth as well, I think, obviously musical classic. He always wanted to do musicals.
I think Lazarus, someone will probably correct me if I'm wrong, is a follow-up to a film or another musical that he did.
Right.
He wrote originally. I don't know too much about his musical theatre work. I saw an advert for Lazarus recently, and it says that David Bowie's parting gift to the world. As far as I'm aware, when he started working on Lazarus, he didn't know he was ill, and it became clear during the production of the musical that he was actually ill, and there was
like
some
Beauty and the Beast with Howard Ashman.
I think one of the one of the singles or album tracks that's on his album was something taken from the musical, and it's even more poignant and meaningful now he's actually died. I think I don't know whether he knew he was dying when he wrote that, but it seems like he might have done. It's apparently very moving. I'd like to go see it. I think my uncle's quite keen on going, so...
Ronnie Corbett as well I want to talk about briefly, because we don't really associate Ronnie Corbett with musical theatre, but he came from a musical theatre and stage background. He was in Twang, I think, with Barbara Windsor. But the two Ronnies on the television show had some of the most spectacular musical sequences you've probably ever seen on television.
Yeah.
And they did everything from bell-ringing chorus songs to country dancing to marching bands to Star Wars to
it's
rapping
something
Indian waiters and things.
It's something you don't see as much as often on TV now, and I think it's because a lot of performers just don't have that musical
I think
ability.
Victoria Wood was the last
she
person
was like,
to do it.
yeah, you're right about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've recently, seen a lot of those sketches, obviously, because you can see them on YouTube or whatever. Morecambe Wise as well, we're doing all
Yeah.
that kind of, musical, comedic sketches. You just don't see them anymore on TV.
But you had Ronnie Corbett and Ronnie Barker, and the musical composer and arranger was Ronnie Hazelhurst. So I always think the name of the show should have been the three
Ronnies,
the
yeah.
three Ronnies. Alan Rickman.
Died like 2 days after David Bowie. It was an
I know.
awful week. It was horrendous. We've discussed this before, I think, me watching most of Sweeney Todd through my fingers because I was
Right,
petrified.
yes.
But what I did actually see...
What you saw of him was wonderful.
It was wonderful. Well, actually, the first half of the film I just thought was actually... it's just spectacular. Until the slitting of throats happened, then I had to literally... I didn't watch the second half of the film. I think I watched it from my hands. I thought he was wonderful, and I thought his singing was quite good, but you can kind of get away with it. He's already got quite a low speaking voice. Obviously, the bass range for the judge in Sweeney Todd is...
And also funny how Johnny Depp seemed to model his singing around David Bowie.
Yeah, and that's something I was listening to an interview about Moana, the new Disney film, and apparently there's a character which is based on David Bowie. David Bowie in that as well.
There's a song also which is written by Lin-Manuel Miranda in that kind of glam rock David Bowie style. So
Yeah.
that is the legend.
A homage.
That is the stamp that David Bowie has left upon the world. Anyway, let's lighten the mood and talk about some more positive things that happened in 2016. You got a list of shows that opened and
Yeah.
some that closed.
So we got Kinky Boots.
I wasn't a fan. It's a British story. Is it set in Nottingham or Sheffield or somewhere near your part of the world?
I've
And
seen the film a long time ago, but none of it stuck in my memory
No.
at all.
imagine seeing a musical about it with songs by Cyndi Lauper, and that'll give you an idea of the quality. The problem is you've got a book written by Harvey Firestein. He's a very, very good writer, but you're getting Americans writing originally for American actors in a British language that they don't really understand. So you get American rhythms of speech, and then you get Cyndi Lauper's complete mess of a score trampling on top of it, and you just think, oh God, shut up. Yes, that's my review of Kinky Boots.
It's still going though,
It's
right?
still going. It's
So-
a good party show, very feel good. But yeah, just not one for me. Mrs. Henderson presents, harkening back to a war-ridden Britain.
It looked retro-tastic, and you know I'm like the queen of retro.
Yes.
So would it be something I would have loved?
It was very, very charming, very old-fashioned, very, 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 very funny. Lovely music. Just a beautiful production. Emma Williams was phenomenal, as was the entire cast. Very brave of them to do some of the stuff they had to do. And it's a shame it left us early, but these shows always live on beyond the West End. You know, some shows are just not suited for a theatre shoved in the middle of Leicester Square. It might be more suited to some regional touring houses or something. So, you know, who knows what the future of the show holds.
Yeah.
There is a cast recording available, so if
I'm
you
glad
are
to go back and listen
if
to
you
it
are a
then.
fan of the film, go and check it out. And of course, starring Tracy Bennett, very award-winning Tracy Bennett, played the James Judi Dench role, Mrs. Henderson, very, very beautifully. One of the highlights of the year for me, really.
Oh, wonderful.
It just seems like it was so long ago.
Yeah, it really does, and it seems like I feel like Aladdin's been open for like a year
Yeah.
and maybe more, but that only opened in May, didn't it? Preview started in May for Aladdin.
Shows what a bad year, how slowly it's gone,
Yeah,
because
it really
we've had
has.
another death. We've lifted the mood ever so slightly. We're going to slam it down again. A big idol of yours, would you
Yeah,
say, Tanya?
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really upset when I heard about this. Yeah, Manny Nixon passed away. I think it was in end of June, beginning of July. I know Foss has probably talked about this a lot on the podcast, but
Yes.
for me, because obviously coming from an opera background, being someone who's focused on the voice, and she was just
Not the TV show, listeners,
not
the,
the
actual
voice,
art
the art of voice, an instrument which fascinates me, endlessly. She was just such a inspiration to me. She was a fantastic musician. I just completely admired her work
And actress as well.
An
to
actress,
to
yeah.
take on those, an American playing Cockney, playing a posh person, doing all that stuff, and then doing...
Well, recently I got myself a vinyl player.
I
right?
did.
And I bought some new... I
Heard
found
about it endlessly.
Yeah, it's not heard about anything else for about a month. And I've picked up a few old records, and there's obviously a West Side Story record, and
We
My
found My Fair
Lady.
Lady as well, didn't
Yeah, I
we?
found my... Yeah.
Just lying around in a charity shop.
Yeah.
But we saved her.
It really brought it back to me, actually, just how fantastic a job she did, particularly on West Side Story.
But yet no credits.
No credits, yeah. West Side Story, she sounds exactly what Natalie Wood would sound like if Natalie Wood could sing. What she does and what she manages to produce is so fantastic. I think you can see why a lot of people were fooled in the 50s and 60s that these actresses could actually sing, because she never sounded the same. When she was dubbing Deborah Carr, she just sounded like her. She just produced what she produced was just genius, like you say. It's incredible acting ability to be able to do that with your voice and to change your voice in that way. She had a fantastic awareness of voice, but obviously as well she was an opera singer, she was a performer in her own right. Real big loss, and it's really sad.
It's nice here on Musical Talk that we have one of the most detailed interviews with her ever, do you
I
think?
know, I still haven't met Thos,
Yeah.
have I? No, and I need
He
to tell
does
Thos.
exist, don't worry.
Yeah, well, Thos, if you can hear me, I love that interview. I listened to it again. She was just so wonderful, and she remembered so much, and it was fascinating to discover things about her that I didn't know.
And also, this will be the last person that's died, don't worry, well, at the time of recording, Sandy Wilson's death.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Gene Wilder. You know, so many...
Oh, God.
So many people...
Just stop!
We will not mention death anymore, but, you know, as Sister Act says, please take me to heaven right now, because it's a much better place at the moment, I think. There's lots more talent to be found in
hopefully.
2017, and new shows to look forward to. What else happened in 2016?
Oh, goodness. Well, we haven't really talked about Aladdin, I suppose. I haven't seen it yet. I love the film. I've heard good things about it.
Very, very, very expensive pantomime. You can't shake that stigma away from it, because when you're dealing with Disney doing Disney villains and Disney bawdy sense of humour and lots of physical comedy, to the American audiences that's just old-fashioned 1940s musical comedy, which is what Aladdin is also doing. But to us, it's pantomime somewhere along the way, wasn't it? All going back to Magic Flute.
We see a lot of Aladdin pantomimes as well. People are very familiar with the story, and if they're not really going to do anything different with it on stage, it's just going to be very familiar to people.
They do go back to Howard Ashman's original idea for Aladdin, which is when he had 3 or 4 brothers, I think, and a mother that is no longer with the family. They've put Proud of Your Boy in, which is a beautiful song. They've put High Adventure in, which is a great song. But there's still no good song for Jafar. They put some... no, sorry, Alan, it's not a great song. They put some weird little tango thing in for Jafar, and it just didn't work. There's a much funnier song which Tim Rice and Alan wrote called Why Me, which is very witty in Tim Rice's style, and I wish they would have put that in instead.
I think a lot of people have problems with Jasmine's character, don't they?
Yeah. Like a lot of Disney princesses, she's just there wanting to escape the walls of the castle. She had in Howard's early version, she was a very, very spoilt diva character, which I think would have been more
interesting and actually, brought a bit more to the story.
And there's a song they wrote called Call Me a Princess, I Don't Care, Only Obsessed with Nails and Hair.
Some feminists might have a problem with that.
Yeah, but it's not that she ends up like that.
No, that was what her progression... She would have progressed into a nice person, yeah. Putting it on stage, it probably would have given a bit more of an opportunity to do something else with Jasmine's character. You know, it's a bit of a shame they've not.
Because it's very rooted in 1940s, 1950s style. It just doesn't. It looks very old-fashioned and not in a good way until you get to the Cave of Wonders, which looks beautiful. The sad irony is, in California, I saw I don't want to say better, but I saw a much more elaborate staged version of Aladdin at a theme park in a theatre specifically built to hold lavish stage shows, and the carpet actually flew over the audience.
Wow.
It doesn't in this show. It's very impressive how they do it, and you cannot see any wires. It just stays within the proscenium arch, much rather than being able to see the wires and have it fly over the theatre like it did in California. That show in California is now gone. It's been replaced by Frozen. So that's my views on Aladdin. I think we will go and see it because...
Well, I enjoyed what I saw on Children in Need.
Yeah.
I loved the genie's voice.
Yes, just go for Friend Like Me and you can leave after that.
Yeah, that sounds like...
It's like in The Producers when you had A Springtime for Hitler, or even Circle of Life in Lion King. You just can't top those theatrical moments.
Oh, I saw a musical this year. I remembered I saw Lion King.
Okay.
Because one of my pupils was young Nala.
What did you think of that? Had it taken you 10 years? I'm sure your pupil was brilliant in it, because the kids always are. They do so much work. What do you think of it as a piece of theatre if your student wasn't in it?
Well, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a great evening, but I didn't leave the theatre feeling, completely overwhelmed.
It's a bit long, isn't it?
A little bit. For me, it was more all about the spectacle rather than the story. I love the film. It's a massive part of my childhood. I'm so nostalgic about it, and I was a little bit disappointed. I think a lot of the bits were done really cleverly, because some of it must have been really difficult to stage, like the Stampede, for example.
Stampede is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a really good scene, and Circle of Life is amazing. And I'm a big fan of giraffes; they're my favourite animal. To see that coming through the audience,
but like Sister Act, don't you just sit there and think, where does all this stuff come from?
Sort of, but after they've done Circle of Life, I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm bored now.
That is a problem with the show. It shouldn't open with Circle of Life like that. It should.
Well, it does sort of end with Circle of Life.
Yeah, but you've seen it all before.
Yeah, I've already seen it.
I know the whole thing is that it's a circle, literally, of life, and it starts and ends as a dramatic point. But the spectacle of Circle of Life is so overwhelming.
Yeah, and exciting.
Like Friend Like Me in Aladdin, and a lot of other Springtime for Hitler and The Producers we mentioned. It's so hard to top those moments.
If my pupil had been in it, I probably would have been asleep.
The
Switched off.
ghost scene of Darth Vader coming back was very beautifully done, with the head being formed.
Yeah. I was actually pleased they kept that. 'cause
You
I
can
didn't
tell
know
I'm
how
not
it
hugely
was.
knowledgeable about Lion King. What's his name? Simba?
Simba is the young lion.
Okay.
It's Mufasa.
Mufasa, yeah. The Lion King continues to play. I'm glad that was something new for you this year.
New for me, but not new for anybody else. What kind of School? Yeah, School of Rock, I guess, was like one of the. There have been many big things opening this year.
No,
actually.
School of Rock and Aladdin were the two kind of exciting things for me. I'm a big fan of the film of School of Rock. I
Yep.
think they're very moving to see kids that talented on stage. It's still an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical for me, and as I said in my review, more people are getting slightly annoyed at his reluctance to
Recycling.
come up with original tunes, let's say.
Especially when you're paying, such a massive amount for a
Yeah.
theatre ticket nowadays. You
People,
want,
people are leaving the theatre saying, "Oh, right, come on, Andrew, write your own tunes," and I've heard that before. People humming along to songs in the audience next to me, critics, saying, "Oh dear, this is from." There's one from Chess in it, as we've said. There's stuff he's put from Evita in it. It's just, come on, Andrew. You know you do such good stuff for theatre in this country. Tanya, of all people, should say it just because the kids are. I'm going to say it, fucking incredible. They really are.
It sounds right up my street. I mean, I teach a lot of children, and I am actually blown away by the talent of the kids nowadays. It's incredible that they play their own instruments. I think that's amazing. So I think I would love it.
Some of them
purely
playing
for
their
that.
instruments have no idea how to do anything else. And that's very obvious because
Aw.
they kind of just stand around looking a bit amazed at this situation, and then they play their bass guitar and
All is forgiven.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I love the film, so it's definitely it sounds like it's right up my alley.
The thing is, the film had his big dream performance.
Yeah,
And
he
the
was in the
musical-
classroom. He's describing what needs to
Yeah,
happen.
and the musical doesn't have that. I wanted
Oh,
it to
no.
be as a curtain call with all the kids doing it with him.
It happens. It does happen in the film, doesn't it? It happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pity that
You
there's-
see Stonehenge and all that kind of stuff, or
It's,
whatever it is. The kind
yeah.
of Spinal Tap Black Sabbath parody.
It got very good reviews, actually, and
Yes.
I think to be honest, Andrew Lloyd Webber needed that because a lot of his recent ones haven't been so fantastic.
What is good that he's doing is he's waiving all fees for schools to put on the show, and you can do it immediately.
Now that is fantastic. That is really it's amazing because schools.
It's a very good advert for the show, isn't it?
It's a good advert for the show. I mean, now, schools are getting more and more ambitious now. I mean, my old school recently just did Les Miserables, and I know lots of schools have done that.
Junior or the normal version?
The junior version, but it's still as difficult.
Yeah.
And it's great that schools are really pushing themselves to do more difficult things, and it's fantastic that it's available
I
for
at
free.
primary
That's
school,
amazing.
yes, available for free. But I at primary school did My Fair Lady
I remember this.
and HMS Pinafore.
You're going to have to put your version of On the Street Where You Live at the end of this podcast.
Well, again,
Has it already been on the podcast?
yes. I can't remember which episode though. Thankfully,
Hamilton is going to come to the UK, but
Yes,
it's
well,
been a big. This is something for American fans because obviously we've been very London centric and UK centric during this. But a big thing that happened in November was the cast of Hamilton addressing Mike Pence, who came to the theatre
on Broadway.
on
yeah.
Broadway to watch the performance that night.
Now, Mike Pence is kind of Donald Trump's soon-to-be president of America. Maybe by the time this episode goes out, Donald Trump might already be president of America. May God help you all. Mike Pence is kind of his
VP,
right-hand man, whatever. Hamilton is all about, I guess, I haven't seen it, but diversity and acceptance and all the stuff. Pence doesn't believe in any of that.
No, so it's very ironic he chose to go to that.
Yes.
And obviously the cast took their opportunity to,
Thank him.
thank you for coming, very
Yes.
politely, but also to call him out on some of the stuff that, they don't agree with. And they had the right to do that. I was so surprised when I saw that Donald Trump the next day said that they needed to apologise. They were so respectful and they just put their views out there. And they're entitled to do that. Theatre, for years, has been about commenting. Forever. Has been about commenting on social situations and getting people to think about things that are as important as politics and etc. etc. They weren't doing anything wrong. Theatre is about commenting on society and getting people to think.
Do you think it was necessary for them to call him out on it, though? Because when you have a play or a musical that makes people think, they don't come out and at the end and give a speech clarifying everything. Do you think they should have
That's
just...
not what they were doing. They had an opportunity. They had a platform to speak to him directly. You know, something they might not necessarily get to do. I mean, you can send him a tweet on Twitter, but you don't know if he's going to read it. But you know, they had the opportunity to really say what they thought, and I think they did right. They were right to do that.
At the time of recording this episode, the week, I was looking at Broadway World and the grosses. Do you know it made $3 million in a week, that show?
Wow, goodness gracious. Nothing's doing that these days.
With the average ticket price being $500.
Amazing. Bloody hell.
I also want to mention the Harry Potter play that opened this year. I know it's not a musical, but that's going to Broadway
and it's a big
soon.
event in theatre.
And it's they're saying it will be up there with the Hamiltons. Mm-hmm. Any interest in seeing the play?
Yeah, but if I can get a ticket, I'll be lucky. I haven't read the book that came out.
The book not written by J.K. Rowling that people think was.
No, I've not bothered reading it, and I've had a few friends go, you know, that are my age, that of people that have grown up with Harry Potter, because obviously the books came out when I was 18, so I grew up with them over the years. A real big fondness for them, and in a way, I'm kind of a bit. I don't know. I don't know whether there really needed to be another story. The idea of them only being 7 books is that's where the story ended. It didn't need to go on anymore. But I think one thing that I said to you is that I don't think she would do anything else.
Oh, I think she's got a lot more Harry Potter in her.
Yeah, she does, but I don't think she would do anything else if it wasn't good quality. And from what I've heard, it's really good quality, and it's a good story.
It's the same with the theme park. She is, every single choice is approved by her. She's like the Disney of Harry Potter, if that makes sense.
So if it was going to be crap, she wouldn't let it happen. I've not been like dying to get a ticket to see it, but I'd like to see it.
At the same time, it's good she probably hasn't written the script because she's probably doesn't know
she's
about...
She's been too busy with Fantastic Beasts and where to find them.
But also, she's not a dramaturg. She's not a playwright.
No, she's not. When she wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, that's the first screenplay she'd ever written. And she apparently hated the process, but by the end of it, she was actually quite excited about doing some more films.
Though it does beg the question, why no musical?
Yeah, probably down to the fact that, well, there would never be a musical based on the original books because they're too long. You could not condense that down.
There'll never be an official musical based on the original books.
Some of you are thinking, there is a musical, it's a
I'm
very
sure you're yelling
musical.
it at your radios right now.
Radios?
Marconi devices.
But that's obviously a spoof, as much as fun as it is. I don't think there would be. Whether she would ever think about there being a potential musical based on another story, I don't know. But for me, I think a play seems more right than a musical.
Fantastic Beasts, the musical.
You see, I can't see that happening.
No.
You never know. I mean, Lord of the Rings, we were saying that Lord of the Rings got made into a musical, didn't it? There's so much source material. I don't know how they managed to condense that down. How long was it? It must have been like 4 or 5 hours or something.
It was 3 hours or something.
Goodness.
3 hours 15. But they skipped entire waves of chapters. So that was a big theatrical event. I'm sure you and I will see it one day before we, turn 70.
Before we turn grey and old.
Yeah, well, I already am. But obviously the merits of seeing it in a theatre because it's this wonderful theatricality that Pete's has.
I think one thing that people said about the Harry Potter play, that the the illusions and the magic is top notch.
I should hope so.
Yeah, you really should hope so, because obviously you go into there with expectations, and if it's a bit slapdash, you're not going to be very happy, especially when you paid extortionate amount for a ticket.
Yes. Waited 17,000 years. I'd want the tickets delivered by an owl.
Yes.
Or a screecher or belcher, whatever they're called.
Hedwig!
Yeah.
Get it right.
Ow. Stop poking me with your large pen.
Hairspray. We obviously did a live tweetathon. We're like, this happened like 2 days ago, something over the weekend's been. All the reviews have come out.
We did a tweetathon, and
tweetathon.
It was, apart from the number of adverts.
Oh, the adverts.
After every song, it was thoroughly enjoyable. Obviously, with live things, you always have issues with camera work and lighting.
Yeah.
But should you, after 3 months of rehearsing, have those issues?
Ideally not.
It's like the cameraman was ill or something and they had to get the T-boy in to do it.
I thought it was very messy. I was actually a little bit disappointed. Having watched Grease live on Netflix a couple of months ago, which
it's like the same set, though.
I think it was, but it was so slick. Everyone was so good. There was no kind of not visible hiccups. I mean,
No.
in Hairspray Live, I'm pretty sure that Tracy Turnblad got her words wrong in the first scene.
Well, Grease Live had some wonderful bits where the camera would pan
Yeah.
and the actors had changed costumes or something.
Yeah.
It was astonishing.
Yeah, but this, it seems to just lack something. I think some of that was down to the fact that it was very messy. The lighting bothered me no end. The first scene, Good Morning Baltimore, obviously she
Did it
didn't see
open
the
with
video.
her in the bed? From the,
Yeah, which was fine. But then she went out into that bit was obviously filmed outside, and obviously because of the time of day that it was obviously aired, it was getting dark. So it wasn't good morning; it was dark.
Good evening, Baltimore.
And it just didn't make any sense. I don't think I would have minded if that bit had been pre-recorded, to be honest.
Well, she
And
woke
then-
up really early, and the sun's just coming up as opposed to going down.
but it didn't look like that. It just looked like it was getting dark. It was so naff.
And
I
it's
really
very
hate
dark
that.
moments in the Motormouth Maybell record shop where the
Lighting was
lighting
so
was
good
very,
there.
very odd. The issue I had, one of the issues I had, is there an audience?
Or isn't there an audience? It wasn't very clear.
Yeah, it's like
they were clapping,
sometimes-
but sometimes not. Yeah,
Like,
there was
I
no
wanted
laughter
a
either.
huge round of applause at the end of Kristen Chenoweth's wonderful Miss Baltimore Crabs song, which, you know, they added her trademark top
Sees.
D flats or whatever
Yeah.
they were, and
Yeah, it is great fun, and I did enjoy it. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the 2007 film.
I didn't enjoy the film that much either, and this is a problem I have with shows that are so energetic and rely on laughter, that are comedies, and rely on applause, is they just work in a theatre.
I liked the film. I thought it was very cleverly
I think
done.
if you want to watch a film of Hairspray, watch the film of Hairspray. If you want to watch
original,
the
yeah.
musical of Hairspray, watch it in a theatre.
I enjoyed what they did. I think it was probably around the time it was one of the better musicals that had come out. A lot of the cast could actually perform well and sing. And Tracy Turnblad in the film was great. She wasn't bad in the live version, but the film one was just slightly better. The thing that bothered me the most was just the messiness of it. Not just the staging, but a lot of the performances were naff, and it really bugged me in certain scenes. I mean, most of the singers had made the good decision to try and stick with the pre-recorded backing track, and not try to mess around with the timing of songs and run and tell that. I don't know whether he sort of mistimed his entry at the beginning and then was a bit behind, or whether he'd actually made a conscious
Were
decision.
they back phrasing things?
I don't even know what they were doing, because I don't know whether he just made a mistake or was actually consciously trying to
Intended.
sing out of time with the orchestra, like a very relaxed style, but it just sounded out of time.
Yeah.
And when you're live, you can't mess around with the timing if you're not singing to a live orchestra, because there's no MD there to help you, steer the orchestra back with you.
And this is the issue I have, is why, if it's live and the performers are doing it live, why don't they have a real band?
if you want to do that sort of
I
thing.
know the logistics of it
then it
must
would
be
be better.
horrendous when it
Yeah,
comes
too
to
difficult.
hearing things, but if they can do it with Les Mis and have a piano being piped into people's ears, surely they could do some things with speakers and bands and fold-back speakers and earpieces and
Well,
stuff.
that might be the next thing
Yeah.
that comes along. But I mean, for me, I think if you're a performer and you're in a live situation like that, and you've got a pre-recorded track to perform with, you kind of got to stick a bit more with the beat rather than mess around with it, because it just didn't work. It just sounded wrong. Back to Ariana Grande, what she's called. We didn't like her, did we?
No.
It was Penny. I didn't mind some of her acting choices. I thought she was quite quick. It was a very funny bit where she was trying to say hello to Tracy through the TV, and Tracy's mum goes, or the dad goes, "She can't hear you," or
Yeah.
something like that. That was very good. But that was obviously down to the very witty script. I didn't think she had any chemistry with Seaweed whatsoever. I didn't believe that.
Or Jennifer
relationship.
Hudson at the end song.
Oh God, she just like Jennifer Hudson practically steamrolled her. It was just such a bigger voice, and she just couldn't compete. For me, the main problem was her vocals were so out of.
And a lot of people have picked up on
know.
this, that they're just
too modern.
breathy and poppy, and
A lot of people, to be fair, have been saying, "Oh, she comes from a musical theatre background." I think she was in a musical called 13 or something. I don't know, on Broadway. I think she lacks the necessary musical theatre training that gives her an awareness of her voice.
It also doesn't mean that she's stayed in that musical theatre world.
No, exactly. She's been singing pop for such a long time. I think a thing that a lot of pop singers don't necessarily have is an awareness of their voice, which means they can change it to fit certain styles, like musical theatre singers can.
Apparently she's a wonderful impressionist, though.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. It's a shame that but to be fair, she
She didn't use it.
Yeah, it's a shame, but maybe she was thinking, well, lots of my fans are going to be watching, they're going to expect to sing in a certain way, but she should have tried to really fit more in with the style. It wasn't the Ariana Grande show, it was a musical that she needed to slot into.
Your tea's probably going cold.
It's actually not too bad. Yorkshire tea.
Exactly. it was a musical theatre thing that was put into the
Well, that's the
foreground,
thing.
which
I guess
was
we
nice.
can't be too down on it because it's great that, it was on TV.
And it was on TV quickly as well.
Yeah, I know. We didn't have to wait like 6 months for it. I'm surprised if they didn't put it on a bit closer to Christmas. I think that would have been,
Why?
I don't know, because that's kind of the time of year when people have time to sit down and watch these things. My mum didn't see it, and she
We've
loves
got
it.
the Royal Variety Performance for
Mum,
that.
you've been talked about so many times in this episode, it's ridiculous. I'm going to stop saying, my mum said this, my mum said that, mum. Yeah, I think usually that's the sort of thing you do tend to see a bit more Christmas, near Christmas, because, musicals tend to be on, no doubt The Sound of Music will be on about 600 times at Christmas time this year.
And 12,000 versions of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah. I don't mind that.
Forgive us in the past if you're listening. We are sending a message to you in the future. We presume there were lots of Christmas musicals on over Christmas.
There was lots of Christmas musicals over Christmas, yes. Apologies. But I guess we've talked about 2016 for a long time now. We should kind of talk about what's going to happen next year. This is our musical theatre podcast.
Or this year, as the case
this
might
year.
be.
This is our musical theatre forecast for 2017.
Lots.
Long pause.
Well, only because your book's closed.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
The thing I want to start with is the big... there's two kind of film things. La La Land would have been done in America by the time this has gone
I know, my
out.
friend
And a
saw it
friend of
yesterday.
mine saw it yesterday. And put on ye olde Facebook, oh my god, that is one of the best things ever. I'm
Comes
going
out my
to
birthday here, I'm so excited!
get the soundtrack and listen to it. I've got the soundtrack. Have you got the soundtrack?
Not yet.
No? Very, very jazzy. It's
Sounds like right up my
very,
street.
very old-fashioned and fun. Lyrics by Pasek and Paul, which I think is quite interesting. Now, they are a seasoned Broadway writing team. I will say nothing else because I don't know anything else.
I can't wait. My friend, the only reason she wants to see it is because Ryan Gosling is in it.
Right.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Girls out there that have seen The Notebook will agree. I can't wait to
I
see
can
it.
see your Notebook.
That just doesn't
Make me want to see Ryan Gosling, though.
Yeah, I think there'll be lots of people that are not musical theatre fans that will probably go for him, I can imagine. And Emma Stone I adore as well. So those two together I just think is genius. I cannot wait.
What's it about?
No idea. I've even seen a review of this film and they just didn't want to give anything away.
Because
so I
there's
just don't know.
about 12 different trailers, aren't they, from different
Yeah.
countries?
It looks like a rom-com mixed with a musical, mixed with...
It reminds me of anything of Moulin Rouge. It looks
Yes,
very,
it does.
very dream-like and lots of random flying and stars and things.
There's a
and-
scene which is really like the Your Song scene from Moulin Rouge,
Yeah.
where they're kind of it's really kind of like supernatural, kind of weird.
So by the time this has gone out, we will review it, and I look forward to seeing that very much. The other film coming out this year doesn't really need much introduction, and that is Beauty and the Beast. What are your thoughts?
I
thus
cannot
far?
wait. This is like the film from my childhood. I used to run around my living room pretending to be Belle. Yeah, I'm really excited about this film. I cannot wait. It's dividing people. On my Facebook feed, I'm friends with a lot of musical theatre people, a lot of opera singers, and some of them are saying, right, why are they messing around with my childhood here? This is just ridiculous. And some people are going, cannot wait.
They're not messing around with your childhood. They're not taking the memory of the original film away.
No.
They're not removing it from the Disney archives. You will never see this film again.
And if you don't like it, just go back and watch the original. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not, they've not done anything bad. It's going to be great.
They didn't complain when they added new songs and made it a Broadway show. Maybe they did, I don't know.
I don't know. There's going to be so many people that are the age I was when the original film came out, and they're going to be new to it. They're never going to see it before. It's going to go to a new audience. That's really exciting. I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it.
Obviously, the trailer we've seen, they haven't marketed it. Not that it needs it to be marketed as such, but they haven't marketed it. Try saying that 10 times fast. As a musical.
No, which could be a bit of an issue. I remember when the Sweeney Todd film came out, that was not a musical. People were like,
but it's not the same level of...
But I think most people that are going to go to see this are going to know it's a musical. I think they'll be very surprised if there weren't songs in it.
That's the twist. There's no songs in it. What's interesting, though, it does what only really musical theatre can do, and it's a continually evolving product. So you had the original film musical in 1992, whenever it was. Then you had the stage show where they wrote new songs. Then they took a song, one of which was Humour Again, which we mentioned earlier. Then they put that back into the film, tidied the film up a bit. Then they wrote a new song for the stage show halfway through its run called A Change in Me. And now they're writing new songs for the film. It's really interesting to see how over 20-something years, how a piece of musical theatre can change.
Yeah, and to be honest, it probably has to change. I mean, also, if you look at the kind of cast that you've got involved, you've got Audra McDonald.
As a wardrobe.
But
Very
she's got
wooden performance.
But she's got such a fantastic voice, she'd be stupid not to utilise it. And I know they've written something for her to do. Because things have got to change and adapt.
Isn't Hugh Jackman in it somewhere? He's not playing...
No. Hugh McGregor is.
Yes, Josh Gad is in it, of course, reprising his role as Olaf. And Emma Watson, of course. Now, this is the big kind of talking point.
Well, I've seen her, obviously, in lots of movies and stuff like that. And I was initially a bit surprised. After watching the trailer, I think she's going to be quite good. I don't know whether she can sing. It'd be quite interesting to see whether she can sing or not. Although, off the top of my head, I don't think Belle sings that much, really, in the original film. But whether they've written anything new for her, I don't know.
And film is such a thing where singing isn't really required. It's not like she's doing it 8 times a week on Broadway.
The big controversy is the fact that she decided not to wear a corset. It makes me laugh because when the Cinderella film came out a few years ago with Lily James, she had to starve herself. She was on a broth diet or something to fit into this dress with this tiny corset. And around the time, people go, "Oh, she's too thin, she's too thin, she's too thin." You know, people at the time were just saying that that look was so unattainable, you're sending a bad message to young children. And now Emma Watson decided not to wear a corset, and she looks fine, she doesn't need to wear a corset. And they're saying stuff like, "Oh, she's not wearing a corset, it's not historically appropriate, just shut up, just enjoy the film and shut up." That's basically it.
Yes. But we're seeing so many... I mean, Lion King is being discussed for a remake.
Mulan, what else?
Aladdin, probably.
Potentially.
Just do Hunchback. Just shut up, Disney, and just give us the
Please.
Hunchback live-action remake with all the new songs beautifully done for the stage show.
I'm not sure anyone loves it quite as much as we do. And it's not Disney, that's the problem. Well, it is Disney. But even though there's changes to the original film, it's still too dark, I think.
Back to 2016, we didn't mention Moana. Well, we sort of mentioned Moana. We haven't seen it yet, listeners, so we'll talk about it at the point when we do see it.
Yeah. We had a discussion a few weeks ago on the podcast about strong female characters, and there's a big thing at the moment about Moana being a really big strong female character who isn't a princess, and there's no love story involved, it's her saving the day, etc, etc. That's apparently the biggest thing that people are taking out of this film, is the fact that it's very feminist. And we had a discussion about how we think Disney female characters had a bit of a bad time, because there are some which are, quite stereotypical, but there are some which aren't as bad as people say they are. They're quite strong characters. What do you think? Do you think that they're kind of just hammering the same message down people's throats? Isn't anything new?
If it's a good message, let people go to shout it from the mountains.
Yeah, it is a good message.
It's a thing of our age, because feminism is a big thing.
Yeah, and as a feminist, I don't want to be too down on it. No. But I do think the message maybe potentially starting to get a little bit tiresome. And there's a lot of focus on the personalities of Disney princesses, and the fact that obviously they're saying, "Oh, it's great, we've got some strong female characters," when I think there are some that have existed in the past. What I would like to see them do more, as a feminist...
I find it offensive there's no strong male characters.
Well, you should do, because a lot of the strong... Well, there is in this one as well. There's the god, isn't there? The demigod, Maui. But one thing I would like to see is there's a lot of focus on the personalities of Disney princesses, which we seem to be getting right now, but what we need to do is kind of change other things. There needs to be more ethnic diversity in Disney films, which is great. There is in this film, but there's still not enough. No. And also there needs to be more representation of body types. A massive thing that's shoved down kids' throats is you need to look like this, you need to look like this princess, you need to have a waist this small. The thing that that really bugged me about Frozen is the girls are they're really strong women and they have big personalities, but their waists are still like the size of my little finger, and that's not sending a good message to young kids. So they've still got a long way to go.
But it's the same with the male characters. We can't all look like Aladdin.
And have the white swing and the teeth.
And the pecs and all that. Well, the guy playing Aladdin can on
some people can, but not everyone.
Yeah.
And not all body types are represented in Disney films that well. That's a kind of side note. I guess it's nothing to do with the musical aspect of the film, but
Hamilton opens this year.
Does? Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that, because that's all we know, and heaven help them if they charge Broadway style prices.
Yeah,
which they won't.
It'll still be probably really expensive to get a ticket, but don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing it just because there's so much hype around it. What I'm a bit worried about, I think Andy said this when you spoke to him about it on the podcast, was, are we really going to get it in this country? Because it's there's a lot of American history in there that people in this country might not necessarily get.
Yeah, I know it's different. We get Book of Mormon, which is also very American in its presentation and subject matter. I don't think that's a big issue, but we will see. What Andy did talk about is the fact that the West End does thrive on coach parties, and if you have a coach party who's coming from Keighley in Yorkshire, where you're from, and they are presented with a hip-hop musical about the guy on the back of the $10 bill, or a group wait for Mamma Mia, which are they going to go and see?
Probably Mamma Mia every time, yeah.
Exactly. We might be proved completely wrong.
We'll see. Well, sometimes we do, because I said this about Billy Elliot going to Broadway. I was like, and they're going to get that? Because it's like some part of history that even a lot of people in this country kind of really know about. And also Newcastle accent and could go over the heads of many Americans.
Or British.
But it really did so well over there. And I was so shocked. But then, we've talked about this probably before on the podcast.
But then it's a piece of theatre about dance. And
yeah,
it works
and also
well.
it's a kind of rags to riches story, isn't it? So, and Americans love that shit. So, slightly smaller production of something interesting, I suppose. Strictly Ballroom, having its UK premiere. It's, at the time of recording, it's just opened in Leeds, where I'm from. Woohoo!
Musical Talk was there first years ago. Cross transatlantic and Australia.
Yeah, so there's a mini episode.
Remember those?
There's a mini episode on Strictly Ballroom, which is interesting. Go back to listen to it. I'm going to hopefully see Strictly Ballroom over the Christmas holidays. Oh, I have already seen it over the Christmas holidays, and I can talk about that a bit on the podcast.
Because you're a big ballroom fan, aren't you? Tell us why.
I've grown up watching Strictly Come Dancing. I absolutely love it. My sister's a ballroom dancer. She became a ballroom dancer after watching Strictly Come Dancing over the years, and I absolutely love it. We've talked about this on the podcast before. That show is my guilty pleasure.
Might you be able to see it with your sister?
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be great to get her opinion on it, because obviously, like I say, she's a ballroom dancer. She knows a lot more about ballroom dancing than I do.
Because you may have noticed, dance is something we very rarely touch on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have particularly good expertise in that area, although I probably know more about ballroom.
I don't even have one left foot.
Well, I can dance a bit, but yeah, I don't think anyone wants to see that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Coming soon, a video podcast.
I really enjoyed I love the film. It's been one of my favourite films for a really long time. It was interesting to listen to the little mini podcast that was done about whether the story whether it translates the stage very well. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any changes to it for the UK. I think it could do really well here, because obviously people love Strictly Come Dancing. Yeah. Ballroom dance is a massive thing in this country. I think maybe we'll see how it goes in Leeds, and maybe it might sit on the West End at some point in the future. That would be.
And is that at the West Yorkshire Playhouse? That's
at the West Yorkshire Playhouse. A great venue. I've seen lots of things there over the years, but I've never seen a musical there, so it could be quite interesting to see whether it's the right theatre for a musical.
Well, good luck to them.
Yeah, there's loads of kind of revivals coming this year. I think that's a trope we're seeing. Revival after revival.
It's a West End thing.
So what revivals have we got? The Wild Party.
Well, I think the bigger thing with the Wild Party is that we're getting the St James Theatre is the Lord, Andrew Lloyd Webber, has purchased it, and he's turning it into kind of the Other Palace, which is quite a sweet little name. I hope he gives new writers a chance, as opposed to just putting shows
into there.
Yeah, well, not necessarily his stuff, not stuff like the Wild Party either. Shows that we've had already.
Yeah.
I'd rather have stuff we've never seen before done properly, but that's a whole new discussion entirely. Do we know which version of the Wild Party it is, though? Is it the John Le Cuser version, or is it the Andrew Lipper version? I think it's the John Le Cuser version.
We'll have to look that up and have a look. Well, obviously, Dreamgirls opened at the end of 2016. That's going to be one of the biggest shows of next year. I've heard such amazing things about that show. It's a fantastic film as well. The film version of that is stunning. I won't be disappointed if I do get to see Dreamgirls in the coming year.
It's not a piece I know at all. I love 60s music. I love the Supremes and Diana Ross, and I believe it's sort of based on the story of Diana Ross and the Supremes. I'm glad it's not a jukebox musical. Because that could have been an easy thing to do. Then we got that in Motown anyway.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to seeing this. And apparently the girl from Glee is phenomenal in it.
Yeah, apparently. Although there was something really bugged me I saw recently. People complaining about her being off because there was a performance cancelled towards the end of 2016.
Well, she went to do Royal Variety performance.
Yeah.
Took a night off for that. Fair enough.
But she always takes Wednesday nights off anyway.
Right.
And then they understood he was ill as well, so they had to cancel the performance.
Would that bother you?
I kind of understand that. If there's no one there to do it, then I kind of understand it. Although it does surprise me there isn't somebody else in the cast, because normally you have multiple understudies. But I don't know whether there was multiple illnesses in the cast as well. Sometimes these things happen, you know.
Would it bother you if you turned up and the understudy was on?
No. And I've seen some fantastic understudies. I mean, although it depends, I guess. If we'd have turned up to see Gypsy and Mel Staunton's understudy had been on, I probably would have been heartbroken. But I think they're probably being a bit harsh on Amber Riley there. Yeah, I saw her on the Graham Norton show performing the big song from the musical And I'm Telling You I'm Not Going. I thought she was phenomenal. It'd be interesting to see whether she has the stamina to do so many shows a week. I'm sure she does. She's got a phenomenal voice. So it'd be really interesting to see how that show develops over 2017. Like I said, I think it could be one of the really big hits of this year. I think people should really make a big effort to go see it.
A show I think you'll love is American in Paris.
Again, right up my street. You know, all these retro kind of things that are coming back. Obviously, I love the film. I love Gershwin. I love all that kind of era. So, yeah, I think See, the thing is, last year was a bad year for me going to the theatre. I think this year's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year.
A new musical going to the London Palladium is always something that gets me very excited to talk about on this show. It's it won't be new at the time of its going, but it's new for the West End would be Wind in the Willows by Lord, Stiles and Drew and Fellows. Perfect for them. Wind in the Fellows, we should call it. I believe Drownton Abbey is one of the terms for it. The score, for what I've heard, sounds very rock and rolly because they said it in the 1950s. So again, we're getting a retro...
See, I think this year's made for me.
Yeah. We're getting a retro kind of style thing, so I look forward to seeing that. That's all we can say about it at the moment.
I'm so looking forward to that. Great story. Fantastic. I'm surprised that's not been done before.
Loads of musicals of Wind in the Willows have been done before.
But none of them kind of stick out in memory.
Another rock and roll thing I guess we should talk about is the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell. Interestingly going to the London Coliseum.
Yeah.
Over to you.
The E&O need all the help they can get, let's just put it that way. Well, yeah, there's going to be two musical theatre productions at the London Coliseum this year. One's going to be Carousel, featuring Alfie Boe and Katherine Jenkins. But I'm not too thrilled about Katherine Jenkins being in Carousel.
Why?
She's just not a very good singer.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I'm sure people will, as an opera singer, I think many opera singers I know do have a bit of a problem with Katherine Jenkins.
It's like this whole Andre Rieu, Paul Potts, Katherine Jenkins, they're on top of the classical charts, and it's not really classical music, is it? Like Il Divo and all that stuff.
Katherine Jenkins is she's the best-selling mezzo-soprano of all time, and she's never sung in an opera house. She's not an opera singer, but to the public, that's what they think an opera singer sounds like. To be honest, I think they're a little bit desperate. They're clutching for straws. I think people maybe are a little bit over Katherine Jenkins now. Alfie Boe, I can see why they've got Alfie Boe in. He's really big right now, and I don't mind him being in it. He's an opera singer who's had a good opera career. He's a crossover artist who can actually sing really well, and I think his fan base is enough to get people going to the I don't see why they have to cast someone like Katherine Jenkins.
Because they have to get the straight men in as well, if you know what I mean.
I suppose. But I am, like you said, I'm going to see it. My mum booked tickets yesterday to go see Carousel at the E&O, so I will have...
a lot to say about it.
But the thing that's bugging me the most is the fact that E&O are doing semi-stage work. So obviously Opera North have been doing musicals. You've got W&O, I think recently they've done Kiss Me Kate, and they're fully stage works. I've seen, there was a Gershwin musical a few years ago, Opera North, which was fully staged, and I don't know, it kind of annoys me that they're not...
They can say done Carousel before.
Opera North have, yeah, but I think it's probably more likely to be a fully staged version of it rather than a semi-staged version of it.
What annoys me is at the Coliseum, you've got the biggest bloody stage in the West End. There should, if anything was demanding spectacle and amazing set pieces, it's there.
Yeah, it just really bugged me they're not putting a fully staged, thing. But that's the thing. I think some of it is down to the fact that cannot afford it. They've been given so much money. They can afford
Alfie Boe and Katherine Jenkins.
It really bugs me. They're giving so much. They swallow up all the blooming Arts Council funding, and they've been given bailout after bailout after bailout. They can't afford to do the full scale productions on that stage. And to be honest, I think we've seen E&O go through different managements recently, and one of the main things I think they should just get out of the Colosseum, because I think that's probably one of the main problems that they have.
Go to the other palace. Let's swap around.
Let's swap around. Yeah, and also they're too close to the West End. They can't compete with what's going on. I think that's the reason they're doing musicals. I know that their ticket sales for Sweeney Todd were some of the best they've ever had. So I don't have a problem with them doing musicals. At the same time, I think they would survive better if they weren't in such a big theatre.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is closing.
Yeah,
You never saw it, did you?
No, although what I saw of it didn't particularly like. I saw some very out of tune singing on Children Need, and I was like, right, nope, not going to see that. I liked how they used pure imagination in the film. In the musical. But
it works in the film as well.
It works in the film. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more of the content from the film in the new stage musical.
And they know that, which is why on Broadway they're putting a lot more of the original Leslie Bricusse songs in.
Because I think that's what people kind of go to it and expect to see. And you've got such a good musical like Matilda playing just round the corner, you just think, well, which one would you rather see? Matilda or Charlie? And it's...
Charlie's worth seeing, though. You like stagey, technical, setty stuff as well, so it's worth seeing for that.
But I like seeing that, and amazing singing,
Yeah,
amazing
of
score,
course.
amazing book. I'm not interested if the book and the score is a bit crap. Sorry, but I'm not.
You haven't seen Matilda either?
No.
But yet you're saying that's a better...
But generally, out of the two, I've heard... From what I've heard, mostly from you, but from the score and the amount of excitement coming from people that have seen it, I would go see that. As someone who's not seen either, I would go see Matilda every time. That's the one I would choose.
So Charlie is closing, and in it is going 42nd Street.
Again, another retro musical. I think I just think West End's made for me this year. I really do.
Which played at the Drury Lane 1,000 years ago with Catherine Zeta-Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, actually.
And I saw it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Goodness
I kept
gracious.
saying to my mum, when are the coins appearing? When are the coins appearing?
That was the musical that made you obsessed with Spectacle, wasn't it? I remember you saying that
Probably.
on the podcast once.
This musical doesn't look to be that spectacular, though. I think it's a touring production that they've dug up somewhere.
Oh, that's a pity.
I hope at least the band is big.
Yeah, that would probably be
I'm
a saving
worried
grace.
it's not going to be, though.
Yeah, considering the way it's been going recently with the orchestras cutting down
Actor
size.
musician, 42nd Street.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I think that's a pity. If you're going to revive it, just bring up a spectacular production, not just a little touring kind of thing into the West End, because it's just, I'm excited about it, maybe from the fact that it's a retro thing. That I love those sort of musicals, but at the same time, if it's just going to be a bit kind of lackluster, I don't think I'm going to go.
A story you're quite close to, literally, with the girls.
The Girls. Oh, with it being from Calendar
Yorkshire,
Girls.
yes.
And being set in Yorkshire. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the film.
So we've had the film, we've had the play, we lost the T-shirt along the way because it came off, and now there's a musical.
Yeah.
And no doubt they'll film the musical and turn it into a film again.
Yeah.
Gary Barlow has done the songs, and you know my issue with pop song writers doing songs on stage.
You see, I can sort of see why it's been made. I know you've not
He
seen the
knows
film.
the vernacular, let's say,
Well,
even though he's from Lancashire.
Yeah, shut up, he's from Lancashire.
It's all up there, though. It's the same thing.
Never mix us Lancashire folk up with us Yorkshire folk. I'm sure the Lancastrians
It's
listening.
not like
will
you've had a
agree.
war about it, don't worry.
I love you, really, people from Lancashire. Yeah, I can see why it has been adapted previously as a play, and it's been adapted as a musical. If you watch the film, it's just one of those things that will work on stage really well. From what I've heard from the score, I'm not that excited about it. Like you say, pop writers writing musical theatre, I think. Like you say, he does that really annoying thing of describing everything that's happening on stage.
I don't think the lyrics are his. I'm not sure. I think it's just the music. So it might not be, entirely Gary Barlow's fault, but I'm guessing the music will be very poppy as well. We don't know.
What really annoyed you is it's so close to ELO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the ENO, the ELO.
ELO.
Listen to the song called Yorkshire, I think it's just called. Good morning, Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
And then listen to Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra, and you might hear a bit of a homage, I would guess.
Yeah.
The thing is, Jeff Lynne's from Birmingham, so I don't know why he wanted to pay homage to...
Don't know. Jeff Lynne spoke at my graduation ceremony in
And
Birmingham.
what a wonderful musician he is. Why can't he write the musical of The Girls?
He was so funny. I think he made like a speech that was like 2 minutes long. He was just like, just follow your dreams. I was like, okay.
So The Girls opening at the
Yeah.
very attractive, actually, Phoenix Theatre near Tottenham Court Road, that kind of area. where Blood Brothers played for 1,000
Yes,
years, and also
yeah.
where the Bend It Like Beckham musical went.
Yeah, and at the moment I think it's a musical. It's
a dance piece,
It's a
isn't
dance piece. It's Flavia and Vincent from Strictly, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure the girls are in the theatre already.
Potentially, I think what passed it recently, and it's still Strictly-fied. Yeah, I don't want to be too down on it because we've not seen it yet. But
No.
we'll see what it's like.
But you love the film, don't you?
The Calendar Girl film,
Yes.
yeah, it's a very moving film. I hope that they retain all of that very important kind of story from the film, and it's not just a fluffy musical about,
So, a lot coming up for Musical Talk in 2017. Thank you very much, Tonya.
Oh, you're welcome.
What a journey we will have.
Yeah, it'll be my first full year of Musical Talk since I just kind of
And my 11th.
popped in at the end of 2016. Your 11th, goodness me.
Yes. We're going to have lunch now. Goodbye. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. This episode of Musical Talk, presented by Nick Hudson and Antonia Gentili, and edited by Nick Hudson. Copyright Musical Talk 2017. Your socks are unbelievably cute, by the way. I just thought I'd
They're not matching, though. Well, they're
No.
sort of matching, but not matching.
matches your Christmas sweater you have on.
I'm all Christmas. They're Christmas socks. I've got a Christmas jumper on, listeners, with Dachshunds on it. That's
Wearing
just-
Christmas sweaters. It's
Wearing
all
Christmas
very meta.
sweaters. It's yeah, exactly.
With Dachshunds on it. No, they're stars.
They're really sweet. Stop talking about death.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, dear.